Welcome to Tamez Labs. I'm Tripwire. Today we're looking at a robotic startup that went from spin-out to live factory deployment in under 2 months, and then raised $300 million at a billion-dollar valuation before most people had heard its name. The company is called Walden Robotics, and its pitch is simple and hard to argue with. Their robots aren't performing in demos. They're already showing up for work. January. A robotics lab inside Toyota spins out a new company. By February, that company's robots are already working 8-hour shifts on a factory floor in North America, loading car parts, unloading them, cleaning machinery, preparing component kits, standing next to human employees who clock in for the same shift. From spin-out to live production in under 2 months. In a field where working robot usually means robot that worked once in a demo with the lighting just right, that timeline is the whole story, or at least the beginning of it. So here's the question I want you to hold on to. What is the difference between a robot that performs in a video and a robot that shows up for work? Because that gap is where almost every humanoid robotics company lives right now. And the company doing real, paid work on a real factory floor just raised $300 million to prove the gap is closing. The company is called Walden Robotics, Cambridge, Massachusetts, spun out of Toyota Research Institute this past January. And this past summer, on July 15th, they announced a seed round of $300 million at a valuation of $1.1 billion. Let me say that again, because the word seed is doing heavy lifting. A seed round is supposed to be the money you raise to build a prototype and hire your first 10 people. Walden raised $300 million of it at a billion-dollar valuation before most people had heard the name. That is not a seed round. That is a coronation with a seed round's business card. So who earned it? The co-founder and CEO is Dr. Russ Tedrake. He is a professor at MIT, and he spent roughly a decade at Toyota Research Institute, most recently as Senior Vice President of Large Behavior Models. Hold that title, Large Behavior Models. It is the exact thing that powers Walden's robots, and the exact thing that makes them different. The rest of the founding team comes from Toyota, MIT, Stanford, and Amazon. Their names have not been made public yet, so I will not invent them for you. Now, large behavior models. Let me explain what those are, because the name is a deliberate echo. You know large language models, the systems that read enormous amounts of text and learn the patterns of language well enough to write, answer, respond. A large behavior model does the same thing, but for physical action. Instead of learning from text, it learns from motion, from thousands of repetitions of a hand reaching for a part, gripping it, turning it, setting it down. It learns the pattern of a task the way a language model learns the pattern of a sentence. Here is why that matters. A traditional industrial robot is brilliant and completely rigid. It does one motion flawlessly forever. Ask it to do a slightly different job, and someone has to reprogram it by hand. That can take weeks. Every new task is a new engineering project. Think of it like a player piano. Beautiful music, but only the song on the roll. You want a new song? You punch a new roll, and that takes weeks. A large behavior model is closer to a musician who can hear a tune once and play it. Show the robot the job, let it practice, and it learns. Walden says this cuts reprogramming from weeks to days. That flexibility is the point. Because real factories are not tidy. They are full of odd, varied, hard-to-staff tasks that never quite repeat the same way twice. The kind of work that rigid automation has never been able to touch. And the demand for touching it is enormous. Manufacturing and logistics are facing labor shortages and aging workforces at the same moment demand keeps climbing. Automotive, aerospace, semiconductors, electronics, life sciences. The people who run these plants need automation that can flex to the floor, not automation that needs a 6-week appointment every time the job changes. Walden's robots, by the way, are not the walking, running humanoids you have seen bounding across a stage. They are wheeled upper body humanoids, a torso, arms, and hands on a mobile base. Less spectacle, more forklift. Which, if your goal is showing up for an 8-hour shift instead of a highlight reel, is the more honest design. The company calls itself full stack. They build the hardware and the AI software, and they deploy the machines themselves. And the name, Walden, is a philosophy statement. It comes from the idea that this technology should expand human potential, letting skilled workers hand off the difficult, repetitive tasks and keep the judgment and the craft. Toyota's chief technology officer, Hiroki Nakajima, tied it to 2 Toyota principles: Kaizen, continuous improvement, and Jidoka, automation with a human touch. The robots, he said, keep people at the center. Now, that money. The $300 million was co-led by Toyota and Deviation Capital, and the rest of the list reads like a map of who wants physical AI to work. NVIDIA, Boeing, Samsung Ventures, Prologis Ventures, CoreWeave Ventures, Menlo Ventures. Boeing is worth pausing on because it tells you where this is pointed. Aerospace. Along with semiconductors, electronics, logistics, and life sciences. The seed money funds product development, manufacturing capacity, and expansion beyond Toyota, where Walden says it already has strategic partners. And that word, beyond, is the whole game. Because here is the honest tension. Everything Walden has proven, it has proven inside a Toyota plant. Every 8-hour shift, every loaded part, every cleaned machine, all of it inside the building of the company that spun them out and co-led their round. The reporting on this is direct about it. The deployment claim still depends on whether the robots perform outside a Toyota setting. And that is genuinely the hardest problem in this field, not building a robot that works somewhere, building a robot that works anywhere. Getting physical AI to generalize across different tasks, different rooms, different lighting, different bodies. That is an unsolved frontier. A skill learned on a Toyota floor does not automatically transfer to a Boeing floor. Every new environment is a test the model has not seen. So the whole industry is racing at the same wall from different angles. Figure AI raised more than $1 billion at a $39 billion valuation. Agility Robotics, maker of the Digit humanoid, raised $400 million and agreed to go public. Apptronik closed a $520 million extension for its Apollo robot. Skilled AI raised $1.4 billion to build a model that works across many robot bodies. Neura Robotics in Germany, another $1.4 billion. Against those numbers, Walden's $300 million looks almost modest. But look at what the others are mostly selling: hardware platforms, general models, demos, and pilots. Walden's pitch is narrower and, if it holds, sharper. Their robots are already doing real, paid work in a live factory, which means real-world data, the repetitions that feed the large behavior model. Every shift, the machines learn a little more, and the model that learns from actual work is the model that gets to generalize first. The global industrial robotics market was worth about $18.5 billion in 2025, projected to pass $44 billion by 2030. That is the prize. And the door to it is that one word: beyond. So, the difference between a robot that performs in a video and a robot that shows up for work. Walden has answered the first half. The robots show up. They clock in, they load the parts, they clean the line, they clock out. 8 hours, alongside people in a working plant. The second half is being written right now, on a factory floor somewhere that is not owned by Toyota. A robot reaching for a part it has never seen, in a room it has never worked, running a model trained on a decade of the idea that a machine can learn a job the way a person does. By watching, by doing, by coming back tomorrow and doing it a little better. The player piano only ever knew one song. This one is trying to learn the room. Thanks for spending time with us today. There's a lot more to watch as this one moves beyond the Toyota floor. We'll be following it. I'm Tripwire, and this is Tamez Labs.
Grab news. Tamez.